Well, thank you for being on today for our webinar, Overcoming Imposter Syndrome. I was just telling my coworkers as we were coming on, I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this. I thought it was kind of ironic that we would be discussing something like imposter syndrome, and I was feeling a little bit like I had imposter syndrome. So we really want to touch base with you guys today about, recognizing the patterns of imposter syndrome, kind of getting through the self-talk part, but also recognizing your achievements, the skills that you've developed, and how it can progress you further in your career. So just to kind of start off, I want to give a brief introduction. My name's Katie Rains, if we haven't met before. I am a recruiter and career coach for our Reskill Arkansas program. I'm joined today by the lovely Jenny Sales. She is a senior recruiter and career coach on our team. And then wanted to just kind of share, a few of the other lovely ladies who you might be meeting with your time at ACDS. So we have Ashley French, our Director of Talent Management and Recruiting, Miss Amanda Champlin, who is our Work-Based Learning Program Manager, Miss Nicole Parsons, who is our another senior recruiter and career coach. And we have Miss Elise Long, who for some reason has my name on there. But she is another fantastic recruiter for our work-based learning program who is currently on maternity leave right now. Just kind of a little brief recap if you already don't know or aren't familiar with ACDS and who we are. We're a nonprofit in Arkansas, really with the goal to help people grow in the tech talent space. So we provide different training opportunities. It's all free, it's all online, career coaching, including resume reviews, interview coaching. And it's all with the hopes of supporting your job search in the IT field. We also are kind of going into a couple of different areas of industry. So we are going into advanced manufacturing and energy as well. We also do have a couple of other programs, an internship program and an apprenticeship program as well. And really, these are opportunities for people to kind of get their foot in the door in IT. I always tell people whenever they come into the program or when they're learning a little bit about us that we're not a staffing agency. I think that's where people get a little bit confused. But really what we're here to do is support your career search to the best of our ability, by providing that career coaching piece. So yeah, that's just a little bit about, our programs, what we do overall. But let's kind of jump into, why we're here today. And that's really talking about imposter syndrome and specifically overcoming imposter syndrome. So, just kind of identifying what imposter syndrome is right off the bat. It's kind of like maybe a nagging feeling that you guys get sometimes. It could feel, like you are not as good as people think you are. That's kind of imposter syndrome in a nutshell. It's really like a sneaky little voice in your head, and it's kind of whispering to you like, oh, you're not good enough, or you don't belong here. But guess what, like, you're not alone in this feeling. So many of us, even the most successful ones, we really can grapple with this from time to time. It's really a feeling that you might be a fraud despite all the evidence of your accomplishments staring at you right in the face. I really feel like we downplay our successes, especially when we're thinking, oh, it was just luck that I got here, or it was just kind of a fluke that I got this opportunity. Instead of acknowledging that we put in a lot of the hard work, and we have the talent to do whatever it is that we've been accomplishing already. And so, kind of going back to you're not alone, we wanted to highlight a few of our greatest minds that have also really struggled with imposter syndrome. Albert Einstein said that the exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me feel very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler. So kind of going back again to that feeling of like, ooh, I'm kind of just tricking people, like I'm doing these things, I'm accomplishing, I'm meeting expectations, but I still feel like this underlying feeling of, ooh, it's just all luck, you know. It's just everything that I'm accomplishing is just because of luck. Michelle Obama said, I still have a little imposter syndrome. It doesn't go away. That feeling that you shouldn't take me that seriously. You know, what do I know? I share that with you because we all have our doubts and our abilities, about what our power and what our power really is. So, you know, once again, feeling like, you know, man, people, you know, are looking to me for guidance. I'm sharing with them what I have, but I don't know if I should even be taken seriously. Do all my accomplishments really speak for themselves? And Sheryl Sandberg, she's a Harvard grad and the Facebook COO. She wrote in one of her books, every time I took a test, I was sure that it had gone badly. And every time that I didn't embarrass myself, or even when I excelled, I believed that I had fooled everyone yet again, and that one day the jig would soon be up. So, you know, if you guys have ever experienced these feelings of imposter syndrome, whether it was, you know, whenever I have gone into, you know, new roles, I know I've really felt that. But I'm curious, you know, would you guys mind sharing a time that you felt this feeling of imposter syndrome?
I'll be the first to say that, one of my previous jobs, I had learned everything I needed to learn about payroll and HR and really focused on all of those skills and all kinds of classes because I didn't have your degree that said I was an HR manager. I always felt that imposter syndrome. Like maybe you shouldn't take me serious because, I don't have the 4-year degree that everybody else has. So, but what I did find out is that, um, I really vested more of my time and really made sure that my answers were concise in that area. And so did have the knowledge, but it was just hard to really relate.
Yeah.
Um, when I applied for other jobs, they recognized those skills too. Those were transferable skills. So be thinking about what that looks like in your own world. Can you guys hear me okay now?
It's kind of cutting in and out, but we're hearing you a lot better than earlier.
Good deal. So sorry. I don't know what's going on with my microphone.
Gotta love technology. You just gotta roll with it sometimes. Aisha, I saw that you had taken yourself off mute. Is there anything that you'd like to share?
I just like to share that I'm coming back into the job market after several different things have prevented me from pursuing both my education and career. But I don't remember having this self-sabotage in the previous jobs I've
Mhm.
worked. Um, I kind of went with physical labor jobs, and
Mhm.
those were pretty easy for me back when I was younger and stronger. Um, but I feel that pretty severely um, now trying to jump into education and career at 50, 51 yesterday. So
Well,
um,
happy late birthday to
thank
you.
you. But this is something I've been working with my ARS counselor and uh, my I have LPC that I work with a couple times a month about. So that's why I was really interested in attending today. Um, is because I feel like that's actually one of my, even though I'm coming from a disability and a large gap in employment, I'm starting to feel like this self sabotage might be one of my biggest hurdles. So,
Mm. I think that's such a good point to make. Like, that imposter syndrome isn't just a feeling, it can be an action. We might not even recognize it as an action, but when you qualify for jobs, especially, I don't know why, but especially when I meet with other women, I see this a lot. They qualify for the majority of the skills that are required on a job description. And they're like, oh, well, I don't need two of the job, like the skills that are required. And so they feel like, well, I can't do it. You know, I wouldn't be able to, I don't have the qualifications, even though they're meeting 90% of the qualifications. And so it turns into an action of not, or I guess you could say an inaction, not doing, you know, the not applying for the job, not asking for the raise, not, you know, looking for the promotion, or moving out of an area that you know you aren't the best fit for. I know for me that was a big issue in whenever I was kind of coming into my career, is figuring out where do I belong, trying out new things, and then getting comfortable and not wanting to move into the direction I knew I really needed to go into because I was comfortable and scared. And imposter syndrome was telling me, yeah, you can't handle it. And it's just not true. So, kind of going with that, let's talk about recognizing negative thought patterns. Jenny, you want to see if we got the mic possibly
Yeah.
fixed?
Yeah, hopefully, I've done some troubleshooting, but unfortunately, you know, I don't have the IT skills that that others have. I've got more recruiting skills and HR skills. So how's it doing now? Is it better?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Good deal. So recognizing those negative thought patterns is super important, you know, just to kind of give yourself a reality check, you know, perfectionism, perfectionism, feeling the need to excel in every task, and that fear of failure really can lead to anxiety and stress. And that's just a, you know, a pathway for negativity. And we don't want that. We really want to focus on all the positive things. So, you know, thinking about what it looks like and the overall, you know, discounting success. Super important to really understand, like, you know, and sometimes I always say take a notepad and write down everything you've learned, accomplishments that you've done throughout this stage, you know, especially before you build your resume. You know, it's important to kind of go back through all the different jobs that you've had and think about the accomplishments, the external factors that really helped you grow your skill set. You write those down so that you can really see your value. Um, Negative thought patterns, you know, that kind of go into overemphasizing on mistakes. I'm the biggest at this. Like if I make one mistake, it's the world's end. You know, I don't want to do that because it might impact somebody else. And so I think that fear also comes to the table when we're thinking about, you know, well, I might not be able to be the best at this. The truth of the matter is you might be better than 90% of the people who are at the table. So try not to dwell on those mistakes, you know, viewing them as evidence of incompetence. Think about them instead as a learning path and what you've learned from it and what you've changed since then. Comparison, constantly comparing yourself to others. You know, it's hard to say I'm not going to do that, but the truth of the matter is easy to do. You know, instead of thinking about what I bring to the table, it's really easy to look at what other people bring to the table and, oh, I might not be good at it. Key thing is that what you bring to the table probably is not what they bring to the table. Matching those skills, those experiences to a job description are important. So be looking at that instead of what you don't bring to the table. Look at what you do bring to the table. You know, setting those high unrealistic standards are negative thoughts. You want to really think about the facts, the value, make that list, look at that job description, connect those two will also help you. And if sometimes you need help, get an opinion from somebody who knows you, somebody that you've worked with that says, wait a minute, you're not just basic Excel. You've got basic Excel here. You've been making flowchart tables and connecting workbooks that then include, you know, update inventory and invoices. So I wouldn't call that basic, but you may think it's basic because you didn't learn else that you want to learn that's a higher standard. So know your value and ask you. Get rid of that negative self. Super important to really know what you're good at. And then things that you're not good at, go ahead and start learning. Like if it's important for you to get this a job or obtain those skills, then find a way. There's a will, there's always a way. Having general low self-esteem is another one. I mean, I think we all, in a sense, have all, none of us measured up to that perfect Barbie or Ken doll, right? But I don't want to either. I want to have my own individuality, and I think you do too. So remember those things and remember what you bring to the table to your niche. All right. I think we've talked enough about those negative thought patterns. The things I want you to,
Sorry.
you're okay. One thing I just want you to focus on is instead of saying I can't, I want you to think about I can. And how that happens is putting foot in front of the other, educating yourself, asking questions, putting that knowledge forward, and say I can. Because you may not be able to do it as well as somebody else, but I bet you're doing it better than.
Exactly. I think especially like I love what you just said about you might be doing it better than somebody else. You're definitely doing it better than somebody else. There's always going to be people who are below you, and there's always going to be people who are better than you. Kind of going back to comparison, I always I love the saying like comparison is the thief of joy, and it truly is. It breeds jealousy and contempt, and it breeds self-doubt. So just remember that the only one you're competing against is yourself. That's it. And you can only grow yourself too. Others can be there to support you, but at the end of the day, you've got to be the one to make the choice to start speaking nicely to yourself. I always think of like, whenever a little baby is learning how to walk, you're not going to harp on that baby and be upset with it if it's stumbling. When it's learning how to walk, you're going to encourage it and, congratulate it every, great step it takes. And even whenever it falls, you're going to say, it's okay, here, let's get back up. Have that type of mentality when you're speaking to yourself. Really it's love yourself enough to remember that you're worthy to speak kindly to yourself. So Jenny had, gave us a couple of tactics on, when we recognize those, negative thought patterns and what we can do. And now I want to kind of talk a little bit about some tactics that we can use to really combat this imposter syndrome. First up, we have reflection. Really, this tactic is all about taking time to pause and acknowledge our achievements, no matter how big or small that they might seem. I actually went through a really cool, I don't know if you call it a webinar, but it was, I guess you could say like a class on LinkedIn. It was all about imposter syndrome. And one of the activities that we did in that was we created a brag sheet. So I have it's literally like pasted up in front of me on my wall, just a list of things that I'm proud about, choices I've made that have helped me get to where I wanted to be. The number one thing on my brag sheet is I married an amazing man. I made a really, really good choice with him. And so I keep that though as a reminder whenever I start kind of having those self doubts or negative self talks of, I've done a lot to get to where I am. And all these little tiny choices I've made, these little achievements have really added up into building a life that I really love and that I'm really proud of. So when we reflect on our achievements, we're taking stock of all of our successes. We're listing out those moments when we exceeded expectations or solved a problem or maybe made a positive impact on somebody else. And so let's not forget to celebrate those milestones along the way of this journey. Really, when we list out like our big and small wins, we boost our self-confidence and we gain a clearer perspective also on our abilities. So for example, when I started really listing out all of my like things I wanted to brag on myself about, what I realized was I was taking stock of past mistakes I made and really making an effort to make better choices in the future. Um, I really wanted to, I guess like moving into my adult life, it was important for me to look and say, I don't love this part of where my life is going. Why don't I make a better choice with my finances? Why don't I make a better choice with the energy I'm putting into whether it's I'm putting more energy into studying, or I'm putting more energy into networking. But putting the energy that I wanted to put into the direction that I wanted my life to go in. But really, when we start to see this pattern of success emerge, it helps remind ourselves we're capable and we're deserving of our accomplishments too. The next part of, this though is also empowerment. It's important that, we don't just reflect, that we really begin to empower ourselves. I kind of like to think about it like almost like putting on a shield, an armor. It's really all about owning our skills, our abilities, with our confidence. So, it starts with taking a skills inventory, and Jenny already talked about this. Make a list of the things that you're good at. Make a list of the skills that you've been developing. It's really hard, I think, sometimes for us to do this, because it's hard to, kind of be introspective. So like Jenny was saying, go talk to a coworker, go talk to people who love you and who see the best in you and who you've supported, and ask them, what am I good at? What do you think I'm good at? If you're struggling with this, because I've really struggled with this. I've had to go ask Jenny a couple of times when I've had to make like bios about myself. Jenny, who am I? I don't know. I'm struggling. But go ask other people. They're more than willing to help you, and to build that confidence in you, and to give you like a real perspective too of what are you good at. So write these down. Once again, be proud of them. Look at them whenever you are struggling. But next, this is kind of a really big piece of it. I want you to begin connecting your achievements to those skills. So like I was saying earlier, I started looking and seeing a pattern of like, hey, I made all these choices because I had previously been making poor choices. So I started making good choices. But it was that reflection. I didn't realize that that was a skill I had. Reflection is a skill that you have to build. It's not something that you just kind of, bing, you have it. You've got to kind of look and be introspective, and really be honest with yourself too. I think that's kind of can be a little bit difficult sometimes, to kind of have less of like a, well, I did this because I was struggling. You did it because you were struggling, but you also made the choice to do what you did. That's okay. That's fine. But you have a choice to do make a different choice. You have a chance to do something different in your life. So just kind of be honest with your reflection on that. It's not about negative self-talk. It's saying, once again, you're a little baby who fell on their butt when they're learning to walk. That's okay. We get up and we try again though. So whether it's communication or problem solving, maybe you have excellent leadership skills. It's really, really important that you recognize that there is a correlation between your skills and your achievements. And it's really a powerful reminder of your capabilities. So, if you have time today, I want to, challenge you guys to start writing these things down, right? Write down a list of accomplishments that you've had in the past 10 years of your life. Write down a list of skills that you've been developing, and start looking for those connections between the two. Okay, so moving on to, be kind to yourself. I love this one, talking about this. I think Jenny is like the absolute best about talking about being kind to yourself. I'm gonna kind of pass it on to her, because I think she's like such a cheerleader. And she can really give us a good understanding, I think, of, how can we be kind to ourselves? What does that really look like in practice?
Thank you, Katie. And I do think it's important to have cheerleaders in your life, and Katie is one of mine. And a lot of people would say, well, you know, she's my mentor, and yes, she is, beginning her career, and I may have more experience. Quite honestly, she has a lot more of knowledge in other areas that she helps me. So be kind to yourself. Um, it's hard. It's easy to say the negatives, right? It's easy to say I don't belong here. Katie's more smarter than I am. Cole has more skills than I do. The truth of the matter is you bring something to the, so try to think about that, write down those. It really is important to embrace that and know what those skills are that you're bringing to the table, and know that it's okay if you don't have all of the skill set. Like, you know, my husband and I recently were talking about, women, the difference between women and men, and how they apply to a job. He's like, well, I'd apply to that. And I'm like, but you only have like 50% of the skill. And he's like, so I'm going to learn the rest.
Mhm.
And I would look at it and go, there's no way I'm going to apply for that because I know that I have, I don't have the other 50%. I need to have that first. That's not necessarily true. A lot of the time, especially in apprenticeship, you'll have that opportunity to learn those other skills that are necessary. So instead of saying the negative thought, I want you to practice saying 2 positive thoughts for every negative one.
Mm.
I bring unique skills, perspectives. Everyone has strengths that belong here just as much. And know that it's true. It is true. This one is like it's easy to be negative. That one thought that always says, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm stupid because I should have known this. I knew this and I didn't say anything, or I didn't do anything. We all make mistakes. And
Mm.
the important piece of that is learning from that mistake. And one of those things is, may not have known the specific information, but what did you need to learn? It's an opportunity.
Mm.
Don't look at it as a negative. I have an opportunity. That's a positive because you're learning, you're building for your future, you're obtaining skills for your future. In life, it's really easy to make the negative. What I want you to focus on is the positive, making a difference one step at a time. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Know that today you may have this much knowledge, or you're going to have this much, and it's going to keep growing as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other. Negative thoughts aside, it's a negative thought that keeps coming back to you, and you're like, okay, I really do this right. Maybe there's something nagging at you that you need to learn. That's okay. Find a resource. Ask. Go to your local. Ask us. Let's see if we can find you some education for that skill set. Let's see what we can do. Please look for resources to do something about that. But to keep putting that foot forward, it's super important. Challenge each of you to start that brag list that Katie was talking about. The easiest thing, but I will tell you that it helps. Definitely look at your brag list before you start building your resume. 2 things you should always have in front of you when you're building your resume is a job description and your brag list, because those 2 things are going to intertwine, and you're going to find out that while you were volunteering at the local church or the Pause and Clause or wherever that you were volunteer, some of those skills are going to transfer over and be stacked with skills that are going to help you qualify for that job.
Absolutely. I'm curious, has anybody had like an opportunity where they've recognized their imposter syndrome, and like maybe there's some things that you guys would like to share that have helped you overcome imposter syndrome? Quiet
Maybe
group today.
maybe today's a day for self-reflection to look at that and know that we're all human and we all make those mistakes and we all hear those negative voices in our heads. Past it. Be thinking about the positives, and know your worth, know where you need to learn, where you need to grow, and continue to making those choices that move you.
Absolutely. You guys have the power to change the trajectory of your life. The fact that you're even here today speaks volumes. Just, like Jenny was saying, remember you're worth the kindness that you give to yourself. You're worth the effort that you're putting into yourself. If you guys do have any questions about, anything that we talked about today, maybe you need that cheerleader in your life. That's one of the things that we do here. We try and act as that cheerleader, to the best of our abilities to support you. We all know how important it is to have somebody on your side when you're going through these things. So just remember, we're here to support you. Please feel free to reach out to us. We looks like we just hit about 12:30, so I'll give you guys the rest of your lunch break back. But Oh, Jenny, you have got something?
We do have one little comment
Yeah.
in the chat that just said, you know, I am always finding great people to look up to. However, I question when others look up to me. I know that
Mm,
I've achieved great things. However, I do not feel worthy of the recognition when received. I understand that. I
yeah.
do know that when somebody's looking up to you, that is such an honor, right? Like, and own it and know it because, you know, that is a positive thing. You're helping others change their lives. And what a great honor to be able to do that. So, there's something about you that they find extremely supportive and worthy of that opportunity. So, um, thank you for sharing and know that you are worthy. And like I said, I think Katie and I both kind of alluded to this. If you need a cheerleader, reach out to us because I'm always happy to go over like, hey, let's look at your value because sometimes it's hard to see it. And it may take some of those tough behavioral questions to figure out where those strengths are. And we're happy to do that. So let us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing again. That, yeah, I definitely feel that. It's okay though. I think whenever you are in positions of being a mentor, to realize you are allowed to still make mistakes. You're still allowed to be growing. I know so many mentors who have a mentor of their own, who then have a mentor of their own, because we all need that. We all need that support. We can't just feel that pressure all the time of having to have it all figured out. So thank you for sharing. I hope that inspires, anybody else on here too who maybe is considered mentoring, themselves. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't feel like you have to have everything figured out in order to support somebody else and their goals too. Anything that you consider a failure, you've got to consider it as an opportunity for growth, like Jenny was saying earlier. And that is just going to motivate whoever you are, supporting in their journey as well. So, thank you again so much for your time today, guys. Once again, feel free to reach out to us if there's anything we can do to support you on your journey. But I hope you have a great rest of your day and look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.